Tuesday.
Oh, it's not Tuesday. We've had this conversation. It's not Tuesday,
Thursday.
but it drops on a Tuesday. You know what? Like last time, we had to reschedule this because typically we record on a Tuesday, but I had to bail on you. I know you heard that right, everybody. I bailed on Deb, and so I can't even say anything this time. Now, if we're looking at a record of how many times things have happened, I'm still okay. Once for me, many times for Deb. Not a big deal, but this one, Deb was kind enough. I can't bash on her too much. She was kind enough to allow me to change the schedule last minute. So thank you, Deb.
You're welcome. This is going to be a good one. So I was like, we have to do this one. We got to do
Oh
it.
yeah, there was no doubt. There was no doubt that we would make it happen.
Yeah.
Just not on the day that we normally record. So I'm gonna. I was gonna say I'm gonna be nicer. I will not be nicer, but I did start the show off a little nicer. So,
But he will give me credit for. Okay.
yeah.
Take the credit.
I mean, let's not get crazy. We know what this is. We've been doing this for long enough. This niceness only lasts for a little bit. What are you doing?
I was trying to change the color background earlier and it wasn't working. So I was going to see if it worked now. Nope, still not working. Okay.
I wish you, if you're not watching the video, maybe head over to our YouTube page to check that out because I like how Deb just tried to, in a very cool way, tried to click it over her shoulder and nothing happened.
It's still not working.
It's touchy.
It will work sometimes and sometimes it won't. So we'll see how long it stays this color for. Oh, I like it. It's nice.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, I gave her that backdrop light and the controller. What I didn't tell her is they weren't super expensive. Even mine I have problems with sometimes. So surprise, it wouldn't,
It, though. I like the colors.
I think it adds a nice element to it.
Yeah.
So really stepping it up. Look, I didn't give you all three because I had to make sure mine was a little bit better than yours. So that's why I kept 3 lights.
There you go.
And that's why I have a little bit of a, little thing going on behind me.
Yeah.
All right. That's enough. That's enough of this. So Deb, today we're not even gonna we can catch up, but it's the same thing. I'm doing good. Hopefully you're doing good. Your school year is almost over. You're just trying to survive. Boom. That's how we typically start the show. And I just did the fast forward version for you guys.
Perfect.
So now we can just jump into our topic, which is something that you put out there, Deb, for us to talk about, which I thought was a cool topic. But would you like to explain a little bit about what we're talking about today?
Yeah. It's just like lessons that you wish you would have taught your younger self. At first it was like in my brain, like teenage self, but we kind of just broadened it to younger self. Whenever we text each other, like, what do we want to talk about? Like, what topic do we want? To be honest, if I have nothing in my brain, like, I'm like, I can't even think right now. Like, I will shoot out a text to my close friends and I'll ask them, I'll be like, what should we talk about on the podcast tonight? And so they'll shoot out a few ideas. I think I was texting Deb and Kaylin. I can't remember who came up with this one. Maybe it was Kaylin. What you would tell yourself when you were younger. So it turned into lessons you would teach your younger self. And I have a couple. I know you have a couple too. I got so many responses and so many paragraphs of things from people that I'll try to get to all of them and read them quickly. But I just think everyone can benefit from this. Like if there was a podcast title, Lessons You Would Teach Your Younger Self, I would totally listen to it because there's something different for everybody. And there's always something that might come up that you could teach yourself now instead before it's too late type thing. I just think obviously, the older you get, the wiser you get because you're like, well, I should have done it this way or this way, not a regret type thing, but if I could go back and do it again, or if I could tell someone, hey, make sure you do this, that's the advice I would give. So I don't know. I thought they were all good. So I'm glad we did this one.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great topic. And I think, again, I think with the name of our podcast being Connectable, like we've always said, the key piece of that is the connection piece, right? And the cool thing about that idea of connection, and something that you and I have talked about a lot over the years, it's multifaceted, right? We're not just talking about how we connect with people, although that's a big part of what we do when you and I talk about certain topics, and we hope it connects with people in our audience. Yeah. There's the connection we have with our guests and trying to get them, whatever their great thing they're doing, connecting them with our audience, as well, and us connecting with them during the interview. But then I think there's so many other parts of it, and I think with this specific topic, I feel like the more I thought about it, it's like I think there's always a part of us that's connected to our past, right? We're always connected to our past. You can't get away from it. It's always a part of you. Now, whether you or how you allow that to change or dictate what you do or how you think or what you believe is all different for different people, right? When we've talked about that before, where past mistakes should not dictate what you do in the future, but it will provide guidance for how you live your life, and you don't want to be a prisoner to your past, right? So all these different things, but no matter how you cut it, no matter what your relationship is with your past, you'll always be connected to it in some way, shape, or form. And so I think this specific topic uh, is cool because I think it gives us an opportunity to really look back at that and give some perspective, to things that you wish you would have known or wish you would have done differently, or all those different things. And yeah, I think it's a cool topic, but I always like to at least mention that like there's this underlying theme of connection in everything that we do. And I felt like this was a pretty good one, a pretty cool way to, talk about connection and how it's not just with other people. Sometimes it's us connecting with ourselves, or in ways that we wish we could connect with ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Cool.
It'll be good.
Um, so yeah, why don't you want to go ahead and read one?
Yes. So
Or actually, hold on. Did you want to, I'm guessing you had one for yourself. Did you want to
yeah, no,
do yours first?
I was gonna let's do ours first, and then we'll get into who our response
Perfect.
is after that. Yeah. So
Okay.
I have three. Which I'll try to. You want to go back and forth? I do one. You do one. We'll go back and
Yeah,
forth.
I basically have one.
Okay.
I really have only like one big one, but then if I come up with some, I'll let you know. But just so you know,
My second and third can kind of go together, so I could do that one quickly as well.
sure,
Okay, they kind of go hand in
sure,
hand, I guess. Um,
okay,
okay, so my number one was, and a lot of people said this as well. Like I got a lot of responses like this, but it has to do with finances and
okay,
budgeting and debt and all that. So that's in my notes right there. I learned just very difficultly and without listening to my parents, obviously, because I can do everything myself and I need to learn things by myself and take no advice from anybody. But I learned throughout like my 20s, like, oh, like I can't put everything on this credit card if I can't pay for it.
hmm,
And just
sure,
budgeting in general. Even up until now, I've had to like evaluate things, and I'm constantly re-budgeting like every 3 or 4 years. I'm like, what has happened? Why is this more in debt than this area? But luckily now, and I'm learning more, I'm still learning. I'm not a professional by any means with finances. And so, but I feel like I've learned a lot now. But back then in my 20s, like I wish I would have just saved more, and lived within my means a little better
sure,
rather than take out a bunch of credit cards or get into debt with certain things, because I've had to twice do like debt consolidation rounds.
hmm,
um, and they've helped, and actually ironically it had when I do those debt consolidation rounds and I don't have credit cards, it forces me to just use my checking account. I find that all of a sudden I'm much more financially responsible because I have to live with what I have. I can't borrow it. I can't use a credit card and borrow ahead of time.
sure,
So for me, but it's just, I learned it the hard way and I'm glad I learned it, but I definitely would have, I wish I would have known how to budget when I was younger. Someone taught me like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Um, Someone that I was dating actually at the time, he literally sat me down and like helped me like, here's how you budget. And it's really simple if you think about it. It's literally like he just had me say, here's your income. What do you take home? Okay, now write down all of your bills. Okay,
sure,
subtract that. Okay, what do you have left over? Okay, what can you take away? But and that seems very like duh, but I never sat down and did that, or I didn't want to at least. So
sure,
that's my biggest. If I could go back, when I was in my early 20s and I was like on my own, I would force myself to sit down and do that. Here are all the bills. Here's what you make. Here's your net. You don't have, this is how much you have left over. So you got to make some choices here. Um,
sure,
and so anyway, so budgeting, and finances, they don't teach it enough in school, like those type of skills. You just kind of either sometimes you have it or you don't, and you got to learn the hard way. But I definitely have some, some things to teach my younger self about that. So that was my number one.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that is a common thing that comes up quite a bit with people when it comes
Mhm.
to, especially when you talk about math, right? You hear people say all the time, like, I don't understand why I'm learning this high level math subject when some of these other more practical things would probably be of huge benefit to people.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. I think there would probably be a lot of people that would benefit from that very same thing at a young age. So it's a bummer that that's not
Right.
more prevalent.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a big one. That's a lot of people responded in that same manner. So I'll read those later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. I think that's a good one. Um, I did think of it. I thought of another one for myself. I'll mention later. But I think, you know, um, this one's probably not. This is not as practical. But I think for me, um, if I could go back and teach a lesson or explain something with my younger self, I think it would be to be, I think, be more aware and more present of the people around you,
Mhm.
um, and what they're going through, what they might be going through, and just having a better grasp on that. As we've said plenty of times on this show, I'm naturally introverted. Obviously, we do a podcast every week, so that side of me kind of stays in the other room while I come in the office and do a podcast. But naturally, I'm just more introverted, and used to be way more introverted back when I was younger. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but I think one of a big turning point in my life was, a girl that I went to high school with, and that I carpooled with her for a couple of years. Ended up taking her life in high school, I think our junior year, and that was like my first kind of real close encounter with suicide. Like that was my first real close encounter. And prior to that, you hear stories about people going through stuff and you don't really understand it. And I think for me, having that experience, and it's someone that I actually knew, someone I was having conversations with. We weren't the best of friends by any means, but someone, you literally sat in the car next to while one of our parents was driving us to school. And then, that you come in one day and that person's no longer there, and you realize, oh man, like this person that you thought was just very bubbly, a lot of fun, love life, was going through some stuff. And so ever since that point, like I kind of made a personal decision for myself to really make it more of a focus on, okay, now you've seen this and you understand it's not like this person's moping around, and you can't really tell, right? Like you just don't know what people are going through. You don't know what kind of stress or difficulties people are experiencing in those moments. And so I think that was for me something like, okay, you have to look at, even though you're introverted, you have to look at people differently. Like you have to, you know, look at people. And if you ever feel the need to reach out to someone, or like we've talked about with people before, send a text or make a phone call, you should do it, because you really don't know what people are going through. And I think if I could have gone back a few years, even prior to that, just having more awareness of those types of things, um, I think that's something that I think I would have benefited from greatly. And I know since that point, I've benefited greatly from that shift in mindset and perspective on life and people. I think that moment really made me look at people differently, and look at humanity differently. And so I think, um, yeah, if I could go back and share that lesson with my younger self and go back to, and that's a lot to ask sometimes of a kid, but I think kids are pretty perceptive of a lot of things. And I think,
Mhm.
a lot of times we get distracted with this and that. And I think teaching myself that, it's like, hey, kind of walk through life with your antenna up, and look at people differently. You know, don't try to avoid people because you're introverted.
Mhm.
Make the effort to connect with people. Even if you feel uncomfortable doing it, like there's a lot of benefit to doing that and keeping your antenna up, and genuinely caring about people. You know, so it's kind of a big one, but that would be one for me.
Yeah. A couple people said that, as well in some of the responses. And I totally agree. I think I've shared on this podcast before. I know I've shared on it on, on Character Combine when we were doing that. And then on Not Here to Judge when I was doing Not Here to Judge. To be
Yeah,
continued at some point. We'll talk about that later. But
we will.
my mom died when I was 17, and so
Yep.
I totally I could t- I almost get like so angry when I see girls be mean to their mom now, because
Sure.
I'm like, I just but that's my own, projection of feelings of, it's almost like me getting mad at my teenage self of like, why were you so difficult to your mom? Like you didn't like, if but then I'm like, but then if you knew, if you only had so much time with her, would you have changed it? And it's like, of course I would have changed it. So,
Sure.
there's the things I ask myself. So definitely you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so being present and making sure you spend time with the people you love is, that's definitely, um, I think something a lot of people can relate to, because everyone's lost, that's really, and that's so tough for you to have that, like you said, you're sitting so close to someone even in carpool, and to go through something like that is, um, at a young age is, that's challenging. And so it's very, um yeah, I was just, as you said that, I was like, wow, like that's, any death in any aspect is hard, but when someone takes their life, I feel like there's so many unanswered things. But anyway, we could, go on and on about that topic of just death in general. But I definitely think
Sure.
being present and being aware and spending more time with people is something that I would definitely tell my younger self as well.
Yeah, 100%. And we can move on. But yeah, I think, and like I said, for me specifically, I've always told people, because I was never, I never want to make that whole situation more dramatic than it was for myself. It's like, this is a person that I was an acquaintance with. Like I said, I was talked a little bit in the carpools, but even in that, like in that experience, I remember sitting in multiple classes that I had with this individual
Mm-hmm.
and seeing the empty seat, and then you looking over.
Yeah.
So like even seeing the empty seat, and the reality of that was it's a big eye opener for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes you sad.
Yeah.
But then you look to the left and the right, and you see people that were considered best friends of her,
Mm-hmm.
or people that were like sisters or brothers to her. And it's like, man, I know how I'm feeling. And we were acquaintances, carpooled together, but still I felt like acquaintances. But these people were
Yeah.
hanging out on the weekends, going to football games, doing different things with this individual. They were really tight,
Yeah.
and you see how much it's affected them. So all these different aspects of that whole thing was pretty eye opening. And like I said, it just made me much more aware of people, and trying to see people
Mm-hmm.
in just a different way.
Yeah.
So um, that's just for me. Like I said, it's not just spending time with them for me, but it's also just seeing them,
Yeah.
seeing people in a different way, and um, it was a. I always feel like I've been a compassionate person, but that definitely it enhances the level of compassion
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
and empathy for people. So I think everybody should have that. We all know that's not the case, unfortunately, but yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So that would be for me.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah. My second and third, I'll just say them together just because they're kind of tied together. Um, but so at the end of the day, everyone else is, focused on themselves and worried about themselves. And it doesn't really matter what people think of you, or at least it, other people's opinions of you is none of your business, is one of my sayings that I got from, I think it was Rachel Hollis. She said that. So that just stuck with me. And then do what you need to do in order, to create peace for yourself is also in my notes. So those two things combined, I used to, I mean, I'm still kind of borderline, still a people pleaser, but I used to be a huge people pleaser, not wanting to say no to anything. Like, I don't want anybody to be mad at me. I don't want anyone to be mad in general. Like, I will freaking, like, kind of like a martyr type syndrome. Like, I'll step in front of a bus for someone if it means that they'll
Sure.
be happy. Like,
Sure.
it's crazy. Like, not really, but like,
As long as they're not upset with me, I'll take this hit. Yeah.
yeah, I'll take the hit. I don't care. Yeah. But that doesn't do, and then I come to find as I get older, like that's not doing me any favors. That's not doing them any favors. I need to let people process their emotions as they are. I can't make them feel better. It is not my job to make someone feel better. Um, and then at the end of the day, I taught myself, and people, other people have taught me as well, and therapy helps. But at the end of the day, everyone else is going to put their heads on their pillow concerned with their own life. like I'm the one at the end of the day stressing about everyone else's life, and then they're not, and usually, so it's like it doesn't matter at the end of the day. What people think of you is one of something I would tell my younger self, so I wouldn't stress so much about any of that. And I'm not responsible for anyone's feelings. No one's responsible for mine. And then I do need to do what I need to do at the end of the day to create peace for myself, whether that means saying no to some functions or saying yes to some functions, or whether that means altering my career or adding something to my life or taking something away from my life. It's at the end of the day, it's my mental that I'm dealing with, and I'm in my head, no one else is. So if I need to do something for myself to create, some peace there to make me feel better, then I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to not do it just because I feel like someone else won't approve of it. Um,
Sure.
if that makes sense. So yeah, so that was in my notes combined. That was the second and third thing combined. But yeah, I think you need to do what you need to do for yourself, as long as it's healthy for yourself, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
And
Sure.
in that direction, and if someone's not happy with it, then that's for them to deal with, and you get to live your life the way you want to.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. Now, one of the things, I don't have too much to add to that. I think it's good. But one thing that did pop in my head as you were saying that, and one thing that anytime I hear people have these types of conversations, as far as going back and giving your younger self advice, one thing I don't typically hear that people ask or say is, do you think that your younger self would listen to that advice? Because that's
Mm.
because I think that, like, I'm like, I look at my, like what we've already said. If I went back to my younger self and gave the budgeting advice, I think my younger self would probably listen.
Mm.
I think when it comes to the empathy and compassion that I was talking about, I think I can convince myself to kind of look at life that way.
Yeah.
What you're saying, I would be really curious how my younger self would respond to that one, because I think that's a as true as it is. I do think that's a pretty tall order for any of us, even as adults, not to be people pleasers or not to worry about what other people think. So
Mhm.
I'm just curious, like, for me, I don't know. I don't know. I think my younger self would be like, that sounds like a good idea. And then I'd probably go back to, what I mean, doing my normal thing. But like, what do you think? Do you think your younger self would fight back on that one?
I think, like you said, I think if I could go back to my teenage brain in my younger years, it's so hard though, right? Because when you're so young, like your brain's not fully developed. Like I work with 200, like I work with hundreds of
Sure.
them every day, and I could like say things over and over and over again, and they just still don't get it. So it's just, they're growing and they're learning. I think, like you said, I think it sounds like a good idea, and I want to do it, but how do I do that? How do
Yeah.
I do that? How do I not care? How do I do that? So I think hearing it probably would have been helpful in what's the word I'm looking for? Like just kind of assuring myself, like this is possible one
Sure.
someday to feel this way. Like I didn't even think it was possible. Like
Sure.
it wasn't something that I don't know. It just you don't know what you don't know, and you don't realize things until you realize things. But I think if I got that advice from myself or somebody and I heard it a lot, I'd be like, it would be encouraging, but then I
Yeah.
still need tools, and I'd be like, how do I do that? Or it would be, I need to go through these life events to see what this feels like and to actually go through things and go through the motions. Like you can't just, it's not like a faucet. You can't just like turn it on and off. Like I still struggle, like you said, like adults to this day with that, with being people pleasers and like worrying about what other people think and making decisions that you hope doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. It honestly is just repetition too in my experience. So it definitely it I don't know that I would have like said, okay, like I'm gonna do that, no problem. I
Yeah.
think it
Right.
would have been, I do remember some advice people gave me when I was younger. So I feel like if I were to have heard that a lot and then and growing up, I feel like it would have clicked a little sooner for myself.
Sure.
I wouldn't have had to, because I did, going to therapy years ago, that helped it click for me. So talking through it and like just bringing awareness that
Sure.
it's even happening, like you don't even know
Hmm.
it's happening. So yeah, it's a little bit of a combination of all of that. I feel like would have helped, but not right away, but
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. Well, and I feel like it's interesting because you're in a unique position as a teacher of teenagers.
Yeah.
So if this was like a real possibility that we could go back in a time machine and have this conversation,
Yeah.
like you're taking all, like for you specifically, you're taking all this knowledge that you have about your own personal life and you're going to be talking to your younger self, but you're also coming at it from the perspective of a teacher who every single day is talking to students the same age as the younger version of yourself.
Mm.
And so it's, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's interesting because you might have like so many tools now that you would use for a student that you could take into that situation
Right.
and really communicate that point in a really effective way. So it's kind of cool. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I've had little mini chats with kids, especially when the girls do like a little side chats with me about their
Sure.
whatever drama that's happening with them right now with their friend or their boyfriend. I'm like, listen, like listen to me, please listen to me. Do you trust me?
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, they're just all upset, and I'm just like, this is not gonna matter after high school. Like like, yeah, it's affecting you now, but like it's not gonna matter. So I said, and I'll just ask them questions. What makes you happy? What I don't know. It's hard to just straight out say it, right?
Sure.
Sometimes I will. It just depends on what how much time I have with them
Sure.
before I need to like start my class or whatever. I try. Some of them, some of the kids are pretty open, uh, but it's hard to dish out life lessons to teenagers as a teacher too. I got to be careful what I say, obviously.
Sure.
But and I don't have enough time with them, and I have so many kids, so that's hard too. But yeah,
Yeah. But I've always felt, now this is not this is not a teaching episode, but like I've always felt that those are the moments where teachers have the greatest impact
mm,
on students. It's awesome. Teaching the subject that you teach is great. Those lessons are great, but I really do think when it comes to the overall wellness of a student's life, it's moments like that and conversations like that that they feel comfortable enough having with you that's going to have the greatest impact on their life. And I've said this before on this podcast, talking to our friend Gabe Lemon on my other podcast, Home Team. He mentioned one time something that really stuck with me, and it's similar to what you're saying. You don't have enough time, but
yeah,
that's okay though, right? Because you might be the person that's planting the seed. And he was talking about how I want to plant seeds for trees that I'll never see grow, because you know how long trees take forever to get to their full size. And so you never know, those small 5-minute conversations you have before class will have a tremendous impact. Maybe not in the moment, because like you said, they're still teenagers and they're like, okay, cool, Miss McCollum, whatever you say. How many laps are we running today? But then, down the road, I think I always when I talk to teachers, they always say like those are the coolest moments when they come back and say, oh, I remember when this person said this. It's like you were 16 when I said that, and now you're 36 or 40 and you still remember that. It's pretty cool. So
yeah,
um I think there's a ton of value in that.
yeah. I have a student. Yeah, yeah. I'll say this one quick story, and then we'll go on to our other listener responses if you want. Or you had one more, I think.
I'll make mine quick when you're done.
But no, I will, like, to that note, like I have a senior right now, a girl who I've become close with again. I had her when she was a sophomore. She wrote me this really nice letter. It was like an assignment for a class. She just wrote all these things she remembered about me. And I don't even remember being that way. Like she'll just say, like, you always checked on me. You always said hi to me. You always like pulled me aside and said, how are you doing? And I don't mean to say it, I don't remember in a bad way, like, oh, she wasn't memorable. Because of course I know her and I know who she is, but I don't remember doing those things. And so,
Sure.
but, but she comes back to me and she's like telling me, she's like, we're almost in tears talking about, she's like, you don't know this, but I was going through a really hard time. My parents were, there was just rough times at home for her. And she said that got me through my day every day when you'd ask me how I'm doing and you just kind of just noticed
Wow.
me. And oh yeah, I cried. Look, she told me that talking about things, I started crying. I was like, okay, go away. Like, I can't be crying at work. Go get,
Call the sub in. I can't finish the day out.
yeah, go
Yeah,
away. Yeah, no, but I'm really proud of
that's
her
awesome.
and all the things she's done. But yeah, anyway, it's hard. Going back to that advice, yeah, it's hard to. That's a hard one. It's a real one, but it's a hard one to tell yourself to, you know,
Yeah,
not be a people pleaser and not worry about what people think of you.
100%. There was something else you mentioned that I liked a lot, but I'll say how it affects the other person too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just affect you, but I liked what you said about how it doesn't help the other person.
Mhm.
I think there's a whole nother thing to that we won't go into, but I did like that you said that because I think that's an important part of it. Like
Yeah.
you're people pleasing, but in the reality of it, you're doing more harm than good to the person that you're trying to please
Yeah.
most of the time.
You're not letting
So,
them process and go through their own thing and emotions. That's not on you.
well, it's a sorry, now we're already talking about. So it's a we tried. I tried. No, I mean it's also not a real. Both sides are not getting the real version of each person,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they're getting a version of you that's trying to please them, but that's not the real you necessarily. Not that's not saying you don't have empathy and compassion for that what they're going through, but your people pleasing version of yourself is catered to make them feel a certain way, right?
Right.
And so when you do that, they're not getting the authentic version of you. And so I think people there tend to be problems in relationships at that point because you know you're just not getting the truest version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you start seeing other aspects of a person's personality or things start going sideways. Like, well, isn't that what they were like? Well, it's like, well, because the person you knew previously was not necessarily the most genuine person or genuine version of themselves. They were just trying to please you.
Right.
And so,
Right.
it's an interesting thing for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
So that was a good one.
Good.
Very good. Obviously, it was a good one because we spent what
A long time
15 minutes
about
talking about that.
you. You had another one?
Yeah, my last one, I'll make it quick, is I've always joked, and I pride myself on this. I've used it as a joke before, but I really do pride myself on working hard. Like I feel like I've always been a hard worker. I think people have seen me as a hard worker. I always make the joke I had to be. Like I always got good grades in school, but it wasn't because I was smart. It was because I had to work really hard in those classes, and especially like math, science. A lot of hard work went in those classes because I do not understand them to this day. Don't understand how I got past some of those classes, but like the good grades came because of just the hard work. It was a lot of grinding because it took some time and effort on my part, and so it's something I've always prided myself on as far as hard work.
Mhm.
I think what I would go back and tell myself though, and I think I look at this specifically when I was playing baseball in high school, my junior and senior year. Uh, I would work hard at practice. I would work hard in conditioning. I would work hard, on Sundays when I would go out and play with my dad to practice and stuff like that. I wasn't getting the playing time wasn't matching up with the hard work, and that was always a frustrating thing to me, especially when you're in the middle of it. And I always say, I'm like, I knew I wasn't the best player in the world, but I felt like I was better than I was being given credit for. And it's like work hard, work hard. You hear about these people that will say working hard will pay off, right? You keep working hard and you'll get to where you're trying to go. And in that moment, I'm like, I'm working hard and I'm not seeing it pay off at all. Like I love this game of baseball, but I'm not playing as much as I would like to. I'm barely playing at all, really.
Mhm.
And yet I'm still working hard. And I don't understand how these two things are supposed to connect.
Mhm.
And I think what I would go back and tell myself and what I've learned since then is there's so many life lessons in that. Like just because you're not getting the thing that you want because of your hard work doesn't mean that it's an excuse not to work hard. And if you're choosing to be a part of that group, you've made the decision to keep working hard despite the outcomes. And there's going to be a lot of times when you work really hard that you don't get the thing that you were hoping to get because of that hard work.
Mhm.
But that's no reason why. Well, I guess I'm not going to work hard here because I didn't get what I wanted. It's like no, like if you have that hardworking mentality, you should kind of carry that with you, no matter what you're doing. And it's not just a reason to quit or give up because you didn't get what you want. It's like no, you got to keep putting the work in, and eventually it will pay off. Maybe not in the same way that you thought it would. Maybe it was not towards the thing that you were aiming for. But I think in those moments, so many of the stuff that we've done now, all the podcasts that we've done, the character comment stuff, the way and the things that I can talk to athletes about now, and coaches about now, a lot of it stems from those moments where it's like I'm working hard, it's not paying off in the way I thought it would. But it's teaching a lot of life lessons that I learned later in life, and I can look back at that and say, okay, I learned a lot. But in the moment, like this sucks. I'm running a lot of pulls out here, and I'm not pitching anymore. And so, um, I think that would be kind of the main thing. It's like, hey, it seems like you're not getting the thing that you want, and you're putting the work in. Doesn't mean the work's not paying off. It's just not paying off in the same way that you hoped it would, and that's okay. It's going to pay off in other areas of life. You just got to keep going. So that would probably be the encouragement I would give my younger self when it came to that specific idea of working hard.
Yeah. And again, when we're younger, it's so hard
Yeah.
just to take that advice and try to apply it or understand it again when you're young and you're everything is like in the moment and everything's a big deal in the moment. It's so,
Right.
I guess, but even as adults right now, like, if you're going through a hard time, like right now, it's hard to see, like, what am I going to learn from this? Like, what is the point of this? It's hard. And then you see it later. And then it's like a cycle. Then it's like you give someone that advice and they're like, I don't get it. I don't want to hear it. And then they have to wait and learn it for themselves. So, I think,
Right.
but it depends on who, I think it depends on who that advice comes from. I think some people, um, if it's someone you look up to or someone that's important in your life giving you that advice, I feel like some people and some kids can take it to heart and really like try to, okay,
Sure.
it's encouraging to hear. So, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
100%.
that's a good one.
Well, yeah, well, you had mentioned this before about there's some people that need to learn the hard way or they need to learn on their own.
Mhm.
Um, See, I feel like my whole life I've never really had that mentality. So I do think for a lot of these things, if I had a chance to go back to talk to my younger self, I do think for the most part my younger self would be receptive because I think that's just I've just never had the personality of I've got to like learn on my own. Like if I can learn from someone else's mistake, I would gladly take that advice. And
Yeah.
so, um, but I will say the hard work one would probably be like if I was out at the baseball field and I just popped up, old Josh. He's like, young Josh would be like, "Hey, old man, like, cool, whatever you're talking about podcasting, great. Not interested in that right now. I want to play baseball. That's all I want to do. So unless you have some tips on how to throw harder or hit better, I don't want to hear it." I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, well, I'm gonna roast you on my podcast 20 years down the road, but there you go. Make fun of little young Josh, skinny like 150-pound Josh. It's a little clown.
We
And
got
he
it.
would make fun of me. He's like, well, you look fat. So this is what I have to look forward to.
There you go.
There we go.
I'm glad
That's
we
how the
can,
dialogue would go in that situation.
I'm glad we can have a dialogue with our younger selves in our head. It's great.
Yeah. I think my younger self would be more respectful than my older self.
I think so too, actually. My younger self. Well, my younger self was just not, I don't want to use the word scared. That's the first thing that popped in my mind just now, but like very timid, I guess, when I was younger.
Sure.
Like I was a beast of an athlete, but I just in general,
Must have been nice.
I did. Oh, but
Just break down on the podcast.
no, I think I had a lot of inner rage, and I think that's just where it came out, good thing. But I
There
was
you go.
shy and timid. Like I just didn't, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was just like, there's no way I would, like you said, like there's no way I would think that I would, be podcasting or talking in
Sure.
front of, I public speak every day, basically
Yeah.
in front of these kids and whoever. And so, there's no way my younger self would have been like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. No way.
Sure.
I'm gonna puke thinking of that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, it's probably good that we can't really have this conversation with our younger selves.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah. It's like
It,
that
it would
guy
just,
sucks.
it would turn
Screw
into
him.
a fight. It would turn into a fight, not a physical fight,
Probably.
like me yelling at my younger self. And then it just wouldn't be a good idea.
You would have to go back and talk to your younger self during your powerlifting days. Can you imagine? You just roll to your younger self. It's like, what did I do? What decisions did I make?
I did not want to talk to my powerlift self. She would definitely kick my ass. Or now,
That's
not that
you
strong.
into a fight with yourself. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Oh, okay.
This went sideways. This went sideways. Okay. What do the people say?
Okay, do you want to do yours or do you want me to? I'll shorten mine and skim mine down and not repeat things, and because I have a lot, so I don't know if you want to
Okay.
say yours.
Well, I just have two.
Okay, yeah, okay, you go. Go ahead.
Okay. How about this? I'll just knock these two out and then you can go with yours.
Okay.
Uninterrupted for the most part.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So the first one I got was from our friend Cedric Fry,
Mhm.
who I always appreciate, Cedric, that you chime in on these things. We do appreciate that. Same with Nick, uh, also known as Dadding Greatly. You always chime in with these things, which we appreciate. So both you guys, shout out to you. Cedric said, "Practice patience,"
Mm.
and I thought that was a good one because I think that's a tough one for a younger person too, right? And I think we've talked about this before, or maybe I talked about it on a different podcast where when you're younger, there's this constant looking forward towards the future, right? And there's this constant urgency, it feels like, with everything. It's like you want to grow up faster, you want to do this thing faster, you want to get all these things quicker. And it's like, it's just how we are, I think, as kids. Like, you just want to get there. And then some stuff, as you know, as a teacher, there's a lot of patience. There's no urgency at all. And so, but when he said that, practicing patience, I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
Because I wonder how patient I was. I mean, I'm a pretty patient person in general, but I'm sure there was some things for me personally that I wasn't as patient on, that I wish I could have gone back and been a little bit more patient. But um, yeah, that was from Cedric. He said practice patience. And then Nick said to do it anyways, not quit soccer because of fear, try harder in high school, even though he was going to go to a JC. And yeah, I think I'm sure that's something that you hear as a teacher quite a bit. Like, a lot of people don't want to do something because they're afraid. And maybe it goes back to what you're saying, like not caring about what people think. And I think a lot of times, especially in high school, right, fear comes from
Mhm.
or not doing something, and being afraid of doing something comes from this idea of what will people think, or how will they view me if I do this or that.
Mhm.
And then, I'm sure you hear the same thing about the work ethic from like a few previous students, right? They're like, oh, I wish I would have done better in this class, or I wish I would have tried harder here.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, those are both great. Practicing patience, and then not doing something, or not avoiding something because of fear, and working harder. I think those are two good ones.
Yeah, those are great. Yeah, I was not patient as my younger self was not patient. Hence, my older self is still not really patient. Hence the tattoos. I'm very impulsive, so I just don't stop and think about things sometimes.
There you go. Have you gotten one recently?
No, my last one was this butterfly a year and a half ago, so I haven't.
Seems like a long time for you.
It is a long time, but they're expensive too. So I'm
Sure.
re.
I have no idea.
Let's circle back to my first thing I said. Let's refocus on what I need to spend my money on.
That's budget. Not tattoos. Not in the budget.
It's not in the budget right now, no, but hopefully it
There you
will be
go.
soon. So yeah, but no, I love those. Those are great. Be patient and then just do it. Anyway, without, you could do it. Who said it and what book was it or what show was it? Someone said, do it scared. Is that, someone listening is probably screaming at me right now and they probably know the answer.
Yeah. I'm
Do
not
it.
sure.
I don't know. Anyway, so just, yeah, it's
It's
because
good though.
anything could be scary to do. You try new things, you change something, it's going to be scary because you don't know the outcome, but do it anyway. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. Especially for a younger person, a younger version of ourselves. Both of those are great. So
Great.
thank you
Love
guys.
it. Thanks. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna double up on mine just because I have some people who said the same things, but I still want to like give them a shout out and give them credit.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go back really quick to the financial aspect of it. I have at least three people. I hope I get them all that said the same thing. So I have Charlie, Michelle, and Glory all said
New
to
names.
yeah, invest money for retirement. So like 401k, start putting money away earlier, start now. Um and and again, a lot of the things that we're reading and that we're talking about is more like a mental thing or whatever, but this is like, so the financial part I think is important as well. Like maybe to some people it's not, I
Yeah,
don't know, but I
that's
think
great.
that's no, I think that's good advice to take too, and to not forget about, no matter what your career looks like or how you put something away. Um, I think Glory said, invest money for retirement, even if it's $10 a month, like anything. Start
Sure.
young and stay consistent. Um, and
That's
then,
smart.
yeah, Michelle said, just start saving and investing early. Set aside a certain amount each month. Again, even if it's only $25 to $50, just do it. See what your company offers, all that. And then um, Charlie said, for the 401k, if you start early and put in a little amount for 50 years, you'll be better off than putting in a lot for 20 years. Now, again, I'm not the best at any of this. I forced myself to go to like a Roth, like a second, like a 401 B of, see, I don't even know what to frick to call it. I do know how to log into my account though, so
You can
I
say
got
whatever you want right now. I'm like,
right.
yeah, that sounds good, Deb.
I,
That's C532. That's
I
a great thing to invest in.
I think 2 or 3 years into my teaching, I went with some friends to like a meeting for like CalSTRS and stuff, and I got
Sure.
retirement opened and got all that stuff. So I have that going. Um,
Awesome.
I'm proud of myself, and I'm just like not gonna touch my account. I'm just leaving it. So
There you
um,
go.
yeah. Anyway, so just start saving now. And then Michelle and Jasmine. So Michelle again, but Jasmine also said this. Just talking about calling your loved ones or parents, or let's put friends in that category. And we kind of talked
Sure.
about this too. Call them often, talk to them often, hug them, speak without a care in the world, but kindly. And these are, I know these people personally, and these all three of us have lost someone very close to us.
Yeah.
So I know where they're coming from. And like you said earlier as well, same type of things to tell our younger selves. Just hug the people close to you, because you just don't know. Um,
I just want to add one thing to that.
yeah.
Because that's come up a couple of times on the show today.
Mhm.
It's such an important one. And I think I mentioned this, I want to say it was on the episode we did with Lauren. And this is especially with me having kids now, and just the way my mindset has shifted as far as life and how you spend time with people.
Mhm.
I mentioned this before. The way I look at it, and I don't know if this is helpful for anybody else, it's helpful for me. No matter how you're feeling in the moment, no matter what distractions you have, all those different things, all the reasons why you wouldn't send the text, or all the reasons why you wouldn't make the phone call or spend time with someone, I can tell you this, and I feel pretty confident saying this, that the regret that you will feel
Mhm.
not doing that or waiting too long to do that will forever be way worse
Mhm.
than whatever kind of stress it puts in your life to make that one call, or to send the text, or to spend time with someone. Like, every time, the regret that you feel not doing that thing and then missing an opportunity will forever be worse. So that's how I look at it for myself. It's like, man, I know I've been there before. That regret sucks. Don't want to do it. And so that's like that little nudge I need to do those types of things and reach out to someone. So
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's a great reminder. So
yeah,
if I gave, I think those are the only ones who said. Oh, Kaylin also said, Kaylin, and on that same kind of note, Kaylin said, "Be nice to your dad. Be nicer to your dad."
sure,
So yeah, so there's that from her. And then Michelle, one more thing from Michelle, and then I'll get to others' responses. She just had a big one about not drinking and driving, um, and just about how one night out is not worth. And this is coming from her. Not no night out is worth the $10,000 or hours having to rely on people to drive you around.
hmm.
Um, DUIs are super expensive. Or she said, or in some extreme cases, killing someone. And I will tie this together. I'll tie this together with Jasmine. When Jasmine mentioned earlier about her parent, about calling close loved ones too. Um, I hope she's okay with me sharing this on the podcast. But so Michelle is sharing this for personal reasons, because she's been through that process. And Jasmine actually lost her brother in a car accident, and the other driver was a DUI person who had a
Hmm.
DUI, was driving under the
Wow,
influence. So this one just kind of hits home a little bit, and
sure,
no one in Michelle's case, no one got hurt, but she definitely suffered for it, just
sure,
financially and emotionally. So anyway, her advice is just, even with wondering, just get a ride, get an Uber. It's not worth it. So, so I second that as well. I have to remind myself, because I like to go out a lot, and I like to, go line dancing. And even if I have like two beers, like I need to be careful. So anyway, I think that's something that as adults, we kind of, especially if you like to, have a few beverages, we just kind of forget about that, and we think we feel good. And anyway, you just never know.
sure.
Um, so that is Michelle and Jasmine and Charlie, and then Glory said, that thing about the 401k. Then I have just lots of little other kind of funny ones after that. So those were more on a serious note.
Sure.
Um, so let's see. Well, okay. So my sister Alicia, hi sissy. She said, to teenage me, you are in great shape. Don't worry about your weight. So I feel like all of us that we're in our 30s and 40s now, me and my friends have talked about this. We look back at our pictures in high school, and we're like, we thought we were fat. We're just like, what? We're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
I wish I looked like that again. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what my sister said. I thought that was funny. Um, Kaylin also said, "Be nicer to your mom." So she said, be more patient." Kaylin gave like 1,000 responses as per usual. So I'll
Shout
just
out to Kaylin.
yeah. Kaylin said, "Be more patient with your dad and nicer to your mom, and don't be afraid
Nice.
to stand up for yourself. For yourself, um,
Stand up to yourself.
stand up to
Can you imagine?
yourself." Maybe
I'm not
she.
gonna take this anymore.
I think Kaylin needed to stand up to herself.
Made a
She,
little conversation in the mirror. Yeah, there
yeah.
you go.
Oh, that's funny. Coach Alex Zavala, he always responds.
Coach.
Coach, he said, "Stick to the plan, be patient, and stay focused on goals and career goals." So that was a good one.
Nice.
Um, let's
Side
see.
note: good episode of Home Team Sacramento, my other podcast with Coach Zavala. A little ways back, but I had a chance to talk to him. Very good dude. So shout out to the coach.
There you go. Um, let's see. There's oh, my friend Dusty. Did I not get to that one in time? Okay. So at the time when we posted this, I took screenshots of my responses, but Instagram stories are supposed to stay up for like 24 hours, right? Or
24
something
hours. Yeah.
like that. Okay, mine went away like after 12. I don't know why. It just
Oh,
disappeared.
that's
So I
weird.
didn't get, yeah, so I saw some
Huh.
more people responding, but I didn't get a chance to screenshot it. But um my friend Dusty, she said something along the lines of like, don't settle, like know your worth. Um and something about if your future spouse or whoever should make you feel like your best self and not feel like you're settling or like you're less than. So I thought that was a good one relationship wise, like she specifically said husband, but whoever's listening, whoever,
Sure.
whether it's a dating goal or just whoever you're dating, husband, wife, whatever. So make sure you don't settle and just and remember your worth and go for someone who's going to bring out the best in you. I think that's what she
Hmm.
meant.
That's good. That's a very interesting one
Yeah.
that we could talk a lot more about, because that's, man, that's a big piece of advice to give your younger self, and it's a great piece of advice to give your younger self.
Hmm.
That's also a really difficult one
Hmm.
to teach your younger self. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a really good one. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I definitely. I mean, that's why I remembered it. I didn't screenshot it, but I remembered her saying it because I was like, "Girl, same." Because I'm divorced. She's got similar, like a similar background. So I
Sure.
definitely would have told my younger self, the same thing. Would I have listened? I don't know. Probably not.
Well,
It's
well.
hard.
So yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I don't want to go into it too much because we're gonna wrap this thing up pretty soon. But that's what makes that one so interesting.
Mhm.
And I think that piece of advice, and I'm trying to remember, that's the first time, that's the first response we've received about like a relationship like that, right?
Mhm.
Like a dating type relationship. And what makes that so difficult is that on one side of it, you have this really good piece of advice that I think we all know deep in our hearts is 100% accurate.
Mhm.
But you're also dealing with people that I think at the first sign of a potential connection with someone,
Yeah.
you're going to start throwing certain things out the door. It's like, well, eh, maybe we can make it work. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's where it makes it really difficult, because there's this thing that you really want, and people really have that desire to connect with someone and date someone, maybe get married one day. Like there's that really there's a huge desire in all of us to have that.
Mhm.
And it does cause us to potentially turn a blind eye to certain things,
Yeah.
which goes against what she's saying.
Right.
Which her advice is 100% correct, but like you said, especially a younger person,
Yeah.
trying to get them to, but it's like that, that girl guy is so hot, like they're interested in me, like cool, save your advice. They like, we can make this connection work, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, 100%, like
Yeah.
at the core of it, like what she's saying, you said Dusty.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
that's a great, yeah, it's a great advice, but that would be a really tricky one
Mhm.
to try to convince your younger self,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and actually have them follow it.
Oh, that's part of how I told you about the girls that will come do side conversations with me.
I was gonna say.
99% of the time it's about that. It's about, I'm like, why are you with, like, they'll tell me things and nothing concerning enough for me to call their parents or anything, but just
Sure.
little things. I'm like, why are you with who's this? Who's your boyfriend? Why are you with him? And they're like, I don't know, he's cute. They're just like so
Yeah.
infatuated. And I'm like, girl. And they usually have a friend that will jump in and say, yeah, don't like, I don't like you with him either. Like they'll usually have friends that will back me up, and we all
Sure.
try to tell her. I feel like I'm back in high school again when this happens. And then I'm like, okay, go away. Like I need to remember that I'm the adult and I'm done talking shit about your boyfriend. Get up, go away.
I'm going to see him next period.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna
but
meet.
so let me ask you this though, on that same note, just real quick. How many times have you had those conversations and she's like, no, I'm not going to put up with X, Y, and Z anymore. And then later in the day, she passes by the gym and she's talking or flirting with that same dude. It's like, oh, I thought we made progress. And now you're talking to this clown
Yeah.
after we had just had this nice moment. How many times does that happen?
Oh, I've literally like looked at one of them and seen them walking holding hands, and I just look at her and I just shake my head.
It's just
And I just
disappointment.
walk away, and she goes, and they're just like, Miss McCullough, no, I'll talk to you later. Like,
No, we won't talk later because you don't listen to my advice. You had your shot.
oh, it's funny. Yeah, they'll learn eventually, but
Yep.
that's a hard one. As even as adults, like this is not just these kids trying to get through that, but I mean,
Sure.
adults we do the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That was a great one.
yeah. But speaking of men, so my last two,
Uh oh. Is this from Kaylin?
don't one of them's from Kaylin.
I had a feeling.
Just listen and just don't just relax on this one, guys, listening to this.
Oh, I
Kaylin,
thought you were talking. I thought you were talking to me specifically. You're
you
just
too.
telling me to shut up. What the heck?
Well, Kaylin said listen to your mom about that boy, which is what we just talked about, how I'm sure
Sure.
mom being like, I told you not to date him, or I told you not da da da, like I told you so type thing. So
Right.
Kaylin said that,
That's
and
good.
then Grace said and I just started cracking up because I'm just wondering I needed more details. But Grace said, stop giving the benefit of the doubt to men with an LOL. So I did, I'm like, I need more details. What do you mean? But I can imagine what she means. But yeah, so there's a little bit of
That's funny.
some lessons there. And I'm assuming both of those things, Kaylin and Grace, about, listen to your mom about that boy, and Grace saying, stop giving the benefit of the doubt to men. I feel like that is a knowing your worth type of comment.
Sure.
Like, stop giving them so many chances, maybe.
I think it's knowing your worth, and I think probably
Yeah.
having a better understanding of their worth too.
Right. Yeah. So the ones that pop up about the men just crack me up. We're
Those
not,
are fun.
not man bashers by any means, but sometimes we just got. I mean,
This so here's okay. This is how this is we've hit on a couple of topics that could go other directions, but this is how I look at that. If those two things offend you as a guy, then you need to start doing some introspective work
yeah.
on yourself, because if it's not a problem, it shouldn't offend. So, you know, let's just toss that little nugget out there. Think about that, guys. You'll be fine. It's not going to hurt too much. And if it does hurt, maybe look into it a little bit. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Hey, and I'll tell you what, with all these questions, the men questions and some of the relationship ones, I'm telling you, if this is not like a bunch of road signs pointing back to not here to judge, I don't know what is.
Yeah. This is
So
true.
just a thought.
It is. Yes. I am working on.
Nope, you froze a little bit.
Oh, I froze. Am I back? Can you hear me? Am I frozen?
You're back. You're back. You're good.
Okay. Well, that's weird. Okay.
You were frozen. No audio.
No
Like,
audio.
oh man, or you were just staring at me. You were very upset with me bringing up the podcast. Like, oops, sorry.
um. Yeah. It's in my brain. Not here to judge. It's in the works, and I have topic ideas. I'm getting there. Yeah. I need to get these 4 weeks of teaching need to be over
Sure.
before I get arrested for going off on my classes. And
All right. Well, I wish you wouldn't have said that on air. Oh, this is going to be used as evidence one day, which maybe for our views and our downloads, that'd be good. But at the same time, we can't do a jail podcast. So
no, we can't. I won't. I promise. I say things in my head, and I withhold from saying them out loud. But anyway, I deal with it accordingly.
except until you're on the air on a podcast, it's okay.
Hey, I didn't say what I wanted to say. I just said I could.
There's like 10 people listening to this.
They're gonna go tell on me. It's fine.
Yeah.
Someone else to do my job. That'd be great. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I need to get through these 4 weeks.
There you go.
Once I have a break from that taking up the majority of my time, Luckily, I'm so grateful for my massage business. It is the most zen part of my day. By the way, just shout out to any listeners. If you're my clients, thank you so much. Cause it just makes me like, I'm just as relaxed as they are, I think.
Wow, very nice.
It's so calming. Anyway, but yeah, once school is out and and then that's going to be my next project because I do have some topics and I do have friends asking about it. So it's in the
All right.
works. It's getting there. I got to be patient. What we just talked about, patience.
Very true.
At all.
Very true.
Gotta make sure I sleep and eat too.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Did you have more responses?
That was it. I mean, I had a few other little ones. Like Caitlin wrote in 1,000 of them. So, I mean, she just said one of them was nothing good happens after midnight. Don't take that trip to Walmart. And the backstory of that is when she was a teenager, she stole something from Walmart. So she wrote that in
Oh,
there.
you know what she stole?
I can't remember. I'd have to ask her.
All right.
Remember what she stole. I want to say makeup, maybe underwear. I don't know.
Okay, sure.
Oh, I missed someone. I'm sorry. So Nick said, "Be patient and don't waste energy."
Very nice.
And it's like work smarter, not harder. I think that's great.
That's good.
And
That's a very good response to yourself. I like it.
I think that's. I think I got them all basically.
Nice.
Financially, Charlie also said, along with him with starting your 401k. He said just get the smallest student loans possible, and family comes first. So there's that too.
I like it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
nice little tidbits. I love it.
Perfect. Well, hey, shout out to everybody who contributed answers to this. That's why we do it. We want to hear more from you guys on, especially on these types of episodes. So, the more responses we have to read, the better. So we definitely appreciate everybody who's been consistent with that, and all the new people, all the new names that I've never heard before. We appreciate you as well. So please
Yeah,
continue to contribute those responses when we do them, when we do episodes like this, because it's fun hearing from everybody and it helps us again get more connected with you guys. So we definitely appreciate that for sure. Deb, anything else before we get out of here?
I think that's it. Just thank you for listening, and thank you for all the responses. We love hearing from everybody, and yeah, we'll try to post some more things so we can get our listeners involved. Great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
love it.
We will do that. So that being said, if you want to submit responses, you should follow us on social media, which my friend Deb can tell you where to go.
Show. So on Twitter is at Connectable Pod. And then if you go to Instagram, that's where we post our questions, and then
Yep.
Facebook, and then YouTube at Connectable Podcast.
There you go.
Anything?
Follow us on all those places. I need to start checking the Facebook page to see if anybody responds to answers. I've never even checked there. We probably have hundreds of responses there, and I have no idea. So, oops, I'll start checking. But that being said, please make sure you follow us and subscribe on your favorite podcast app and our YouTube channel. We are at 98 subscribers. We got 2 more until we're at 100, which I'm very excited about. I don't know if YouTube's gonna like throw us a party. I don't know what could happen at 100 subscribers, but I'm very excited to find out. So make sure you subscribe, follow in all those places. And if you would be so kind, please head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to give us a 5-star rating and review. We would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, it would mean the world if you guys would do that. So, and something we don't ever mention, it means a lot when you guys share clips that we post or comment, all that stuff. So, we love talking back for the most part. There's been a couple of people recently that had different thoughts about how I feel about having people say cheese for pictures. That was a fun day on TikTok. And so anyways, yeah, reach out to us. Oh, Deb's putting up her finger.
I'm sorry.
Teacher finger.
I'm sorry. I told you that I had a lot of responses. I totally missed someone who sent me a long list of things, but I'll just quickly go through them just to give them a shout out. I'm so sorry.
All right, well, there you guys go. We'll have to do the whole outro again. All right, good job, Deb.
All over the place. That's the thing. I'm unorganized, and my notes were not organized.
If I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would tell myself, "Hey, make sure Deb's really done with her list before we end the podcast." That's what I would tell younger Josh.
A lot of these are repeats, so I'll just go through.
No, we're good. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
But Ethan Bilali Ramos, who we've had on
Oh
our,
yeah, it's been a minute.
yeah, so he sent in, Ethan sent a shared note to me. So he had so many things.
Jeez, Ethan,
I
good
know,
for you.
which was great. So a couple of them, here we go. I'll just say a couple of them quickly. I'm so sorry, Ethan. But I did shorten everyone else's up too. Okay. Trust your gut always. Your intuition never steers you wrong, which I also find to be true. Sometimes that alarm bell just goes off in my head and I'm like, something's not right. And I'm usually always right about that. So,
All right,
um,
there you go.
yeah, being a nice
Did
person
you
and
turn off your alarm when you decided to go out to a trailer in the middle of nowhere to give a massage?
I did
Like,
not.
was your alarm not working that day?
Absolute. Oh no, I was like, we're gonna do this. I either am gonna, I will come out alive no matter what because I know I'm gonna know how to get out of this, and this is just gonna be a good episode. So I.
Oh, good. Really rolling the dice with your life. Good for you, Deb. All right, I'll stop interrupting. Go ahead.
He said, being a nice person and being a good person are different. Being a nice person is based on personality, while being a good person is based on character. Long-term good people always win. So that's cool.
That's good.
Your overall health is one of the best investments. So make it wisely. Learn from those who you have lost. So learn from those who have lost. Oh, sorry. Learn from those who have lost. Learn from those who have lost in any aspect of life and have overcome them. It holds wisdom and it can save you from having time to learn, which is what we talked about. Like, I feel like my younger self like would have had to like, no, let me go through it myself. Like, it would have
Sure.
saved me a lot of time, right?
Sure.
Um, yeah, right. And then I'll just say one more. People will disappoint you as you will also disappoint others. So carry some grace around. And I'll add to that and say, like, be humble and just know that even if people disappoint you, know that you're also able to disappoint others. Um,
Sure.
I'll just end it on a more positive one, I guess. He said that no one is truly good at everything, and we hold a special superpower. So um, learn, others' superpower and throw away the rest. So we have a lot to learn in life, is what I gathered from that, and just keep trying different things. So yeah. So thank
Awesome.
you, Ethan. Great. Sorry.
Yeah,
Now
thank you.
we're
We
done
haven't we
now.
haven't heard from Ethan in a while. He's been introspective recently. Just came
I
back
know.
with a
I know.
bang.
I know.
We appreciate you, man, for sure, with all the responses.
If I left you out, I'm so sorry. I think I got through everybody. There you
Are
go.
you sure, Deb?
I think so. Yes. I'm looking quick, very frantically looking through my phone. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. We're good.
All right, there we go. Thank you guys again. Thank you everybody so much, and we will talk to you guys next week.
All right.
See y'all. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable podcast.